Hello everyone, it is Jazz here, and it's a very pretty summer day, so I got the idea to talk about 5 books that make me think of summer. Well, a couple of these do make me think of summer just because of the imagery in the book. A lot of them also make me think of summer because of summers when I read them, so I'll talk about some of my personal experiences reading them over summer, and let's go on with it. Woohoo! I'm going to start off with a pretty obvious sort of summery classic and go with The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. The Secret Garden is about a young girl named Mary, and her parents die in India because that is where she grew up, even though she is technically an English child, and thus, because her parents have died, she has to move to England and live with her uncle in his sort of mysterious house, and the rest of the story unravels and she basically learns about life and friendship. I really love the themes of friendship and learning about friendship in this book. There are also some really funny scenes, and of course it is about growing things in a garden. Of course that really makes me think of summer. So this is definitely one of my favorite children's classics, even though I did not read it until I was an adult, but I feel like I at least got to reading it, and I recently got this annotated edition of The Secret Garden, which I'm very excited to read sometime in the future because annotated editions of stuff just rock. And I have Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This book is about a young man named Tristan Thorne who really wants to impress this girl Victoria, and so when a falling star falls on the other side of sort of this wall between sort of our real world and the fairy world, he decides to cross into the fairy world and try to get this falling star so that he can take it back to Victoria and really impress her, and insanity ensues. So this book makes me think of summer for 2 reasons. This does sort of have summery kind of imagery. It does have like glass flowers and different things about fairies, which fairies always kind of make me think of summer. But the main reason why this book makes me think of summer is because I got this book when I was around 16 years old in New York. I was going to the Alvin Ailey Dance Summer Intensive for 2 months, and I needed a new book to read because I'd read all my books by the time I drove up to New York from Tennessee, and so this was one of the books that I decided to get, and that is when I read it was over that summer or during part of that summer, and I just really loved it, and it is definitely one of my favorite sort of fantasy standalone books. Next, I decided to go with the complete works of Shakespeare, although I have not yet read the complete works of Shakespeare, but I have read several of Shakespeare's plays, and I try to read a new one every year, and sometimes that does end up happening in summer. But the real reason I decided to go with the complete works of Shakespeare is because the summertime is the time when a lot of people like to do Shakespeare out of doors. So I've seen a few different kinds of Shakespeare festivals or Shakespeare plays done outside, and it is super fun to just go to a park and watch one of these, even if it's like kids doing Shakespeare or teens or adults doing it. It's just a really fun activity, and so thus this book makes me think of summer and fun times watching Shakespeare outdoors. I did a lot of that last year, and I'm hoping to go see some Shakespeare plays outdoors this year as well. But in addition, if you want a summery Shakespeare read, you can always go with Midsummer Night's Dream because that's always a good summery choice. And yet again, fairies make me think of summer. Then I have the book Take Me There by Carol Dean. This is a contemporary novel about a boy named Dylan. He does have a bit of a criminal record, even though he's not necessarily trying to be a super bad boy. It's just the things around him seem to cause trouble. He meets this girl that he thinks is a little bit too good for him, and he kind of falls in love with her, which is great, but him and his close friend get in a little bit of trouble, and thus he kind of has to go on the run, and there is an additional kind of plot that has to do with his father who is in prison, and he's trying to see his father in prison, and there's just a lot going on down in this contemporary. This book not only takes place in summer and kind of contains a road trip element, but it also makes me think of summer because yet again I read this one at another dance intensive that I was attending. It was a book that had been on my shelf for a really long time, and I thought this was just going to be a great time to take this book with me and read it, and I really enjoyed it. What I really liked about this book is that it does study a lot of different things. It does have that romance element, but that's not really the main element. It does focus more on friendship and also kind of the non-relationship that Dylan has with his father, because he really doesn't know his father because his father's been in prison. It's really interesting to see the dynamic of what's going on in that situation, and also how like different things that seem really small kind of led to that situation. And I just found it a super interesting contemporary. This last one kind of makes me think of spring and summer and every season, but it is Charlotte's Web by E.B. White. This is of course about a pig named Wilbur who's being taken care of by this little girl named Fern. Wilbur is sort of in danger of becoming like a meal sometime in the future when he grows up and becomes a big pig. So this little spider Charlotte tries to, you know, save his life and make him into something really special so that he can keep on keeping on, and the other animals at the farm help as well. Another one of my favorite children's classics does have quite a bit of things that take place at summer and a lot of summer kind of imagery in it, and I think that's why it makes me think of spring or summer or any of those things. But there's also something about talking animals that makes me think of summer, and I don't know what that is, but I do really enjoy this. And there was one year when I just needed like a good pick-me-up feel-good book, and I did read this book, and I believe it was at summertime, so maybe that's another reason why I think of this. So those are 5 books that make me think of summertime. That is it for today, fabulous peeps. I will see you all on Thursday. Thank you for watching. Bye!